All right, guys, welcome to this episode of Views from the Vault Cat Banter. We are here with Evan from Nice One Studios and East Van Baseball League. We will be going under the cap with him, get a little insight on his journey, how he came about to cap collecting and cap making. So Pierre's going to take us through that, and hope you guys enjoy.
Yeah, so Evan, listen, first of all, I want to thank you for coming on. I've gotten a chance to kind of check out your Instagram, and, Jason Mead is such a huge advocate of what you do and your designs and stuff. And once I dug in and really looked around, and I think Leon would agree with this too, these logos are outstanding. But I want to go to a place. I want to get to that place a little bit later. What I first want to start with is tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on here, and it's a pleasure to be in this company and being able to talk about this stuff. It's really cool. So thanks for having me. I grew up a baseball fan and sort of just an artist. I've been drawing and being interested in sort of brands since as long as I can remember. So just gravitating toward the aesthetic of baseball and just that always being a part of my inspiration when it came to, as a player, how I dressed, and later on when I got to start designing uniforms for teams, how I got to feel how they should look and stuff like that. And just sort of, I think we're all in sort of the same position where you come up and just really get inspired by the visuals, the striking visuals of the way players look.
So listen, Evan, so there's two different components, right, to what you've been a part of. So let's first start with baseball. Okay, so where did your love of baseball begin, and tell us a little bit about that?
Well, first of all, I should disclose this. I'm Canadian. So I grew up right in the 90s when the Jays were.
We love Canadians here in the vault, because Leon, in fact, is a Canadian. My dad's a Canadian, and Jason Mead has met a couple Canadians. So
I've heard of Canada.
Yeah,
perfect. Yeah, Leon, you're out in Toronto, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, I grew up just like everyone here, sort of in that heyday of the Jays, and it was really easy to latch onto baseball in the early 90s because the Jays were such a huge thing. And for some reason, my folks pushed me into playing. I had a brother, and we both just played since a young age. Since, I played baseball every year of my life since I was 3 years old. So it was just a part of my life. And I never stopped. I never stopped liking it. I never stopped playing, and it just was always a part of my life.
What position did you play?
I played everywhere, but mostly I was a shortstop and pitcher.
Okay, shortstop. All right, shortstop. So let's talk shortstop for a second, if we could. So outside of the Blue Jays, who's your favorite shortstop to play the game?
Well, I don't even think my favorite shortstop was ever on the Jays. My favorite shortstop is Ray Ordonez. He played for the Mets, like late 90s, early 2000s.
Was Tony Fernandez a shortstop?
He was. He played for the Jays. Yeah, he was pretty good. But during that time, Robbie Alomar was their second baseman. I think Robbie's my favorite all-time player. So I just really like that style of sort of, it's like artistic almost, it's just flamboyant, like creative baseball, fielding.
There's a real collaborative feel to the shortstop and second base position, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like those two have such great synergy and collaboration. So, and
it's
that's go ahead.
It's the best to watch, right? It's just like, it's visual. It's like, when you see it and you're like, damn, that is good.
Yeah. And when they're on the same page.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is interesting because it's a good segue. So we talk about collaboration, how things kind of work in unison. So you've got the love of baseball. Now let's talk about your love of graphic design and logos. What started that?
Well, that's been with me forever. My parents are both artists, and I grew up around it. My dad was a commercial photographer, and my mother was curator in art galleries. So growing up for me, it was like the toys around the house were like, my dad would bring home like pens, and like, that stuff. So I had art supplies around me at all times. So it was just in me. And that was developed just very naturally as I lived, always. It's just never not been there. So it's just sort of this like passion for sports and aesthetics, and then having the avenue and opportunity to do it, and I think it's just kind of nurtured each other the whole way along.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that that
and I guess also I should say at that point, like I grew up in the 90s when. I'm back. You guys back?
Yeah, we're back. We're back.
I think also I should say, like, I grew up in right when like I got really into skateboarding and punk rock and stuff like that. And the art in those worlds was so like influential, like skateboard art, and punk albums and stuff like that. So I was really exposed and interested in all those mediums of art where it was all kind of colliding in one place. And I just found myself always interested in that. So there's a lot of ways that I got influence.
Yeah, so I think it's safe to say that Tony Fernandez would be baseball and Roberto Alomar would be the graphic design, turning a double play.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, definitely. Robbie definitely always had a flair about him.
Yeah, he did. He did. Listen, so before we move on to some of the stuff that you're currently working on and talk logos that you've actually created and some of their origins, why don't you share with us 2 or 3 of your favorite sports logos and why?
Okay. That's a good question. I wish I had prepared for it.
That's why I didn't tell you. I didn't want you to prepare for it.
Off the cuff.
Pittsburgh Pirates, number 1.
Okay, cool.
Solid.
That's my favorite. It's always been a favorite of mine. I love it. I love everything the Pirates ever do, from the P, the lettering of the P, and to the pirate guy.
Yeah.
I think like that, if that's not a starting point for how to get into this, then like I don't know what is. So for me, that's what hooked me at an early age, that Pirates logo.
Yeah.
So cool. Let's go minor league. Now I don't know where this team plays now, but I think they're called the Sea Dogs, and they have a very similar sort of. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Portland, Maine.
Yeah.
There you go.
They're a Red Sox farm system team.
Yeah. So I mean, from the Pirates one, you just kind of like, I really got into minor league logos a long time ago, and it was just like, wow, these are super cool. So you could start naming endless numbers of minor league ones, but we won't do that. And then, like something that's really classic, not character wise, but that Milwaukee Brewers logo, the 70s one. There's just something about that says like, that's just graphic design to me. It's like, one color and it just works, and it works on so many levels. So, I like a lot of different styles of graphic design and baseball logos, but those are sort of like, those are up there for me.
Cool. Well, listen, I appreciate that. So is there anything else out there, like, so you do have a love of baseball and graphic design. Is there any other sports that you'd like to design logos for? Is it really just baseball?
Well, I mean, I'd like to design logos for anybody.
Yeah.
If they would like me to, and if there's money there, for sure, I'll do a CFL team.
There's no money. There's no money there.
That's the rub, right?
So listen. Go ahead.
I'm a baseball guy. I'm not really another sport guy.
Yeah. So we're not going to be seeing you doing any cricket logos.
Yeah, no, I mean, not really. Probably not. But you never know. I'm open-minded.
Here you go.
So Evan, I love it, man. So listen, so what I'd like to do is before we hand off to Jason, I'd like to see if Leon had any questions before we go into a deeper dive into some of the logos and their origins. Leon, did you have anything specific that came to mind?
Nothing too specific, but I guess as like a Western baseball fan, have you ever done the trip up to Seattle to watch the Jays play? I've every year it looks like there's just more and more people. Started like 5,000, 10,000. Now it's almost half the stadium's Toronto fans.
Yeah, I've actually never done that trip. I've gone to Seattle a number of times to see teams, but I've never gone for the Jays weekend. I think the Jays weekend is it's kind of just a tourist attraction at this point, right? And it's just not the environment that you want to go down for.
Yeah, well, it's like just the idea of kind of taking over the stadium's kind of interesting to me. One of my best friends is his wife's got family over in Comox. We're always around Civic Holiday, but we can never get the timing right that we can make the drive from Comox to Seattle. But it's a bucket list item for me to do at least. This year's ruined, but
Growing up here, Seattle is one of my favorite teams. So like when the Jays are in town, that doesn't sweeten the deal for me at all. Like I'd way rather watch Seattle versus someone else. Like growing up watching like Griffey and Buhner and Ichiro, like that was, that's a team and like they're 3 hours away. So
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah, you guys are a lot
Jay
closer.
Buhner. Jay Buhner, man, that's like the perennial 205 hitter that would bash like 40 home runs.
Jay Buhner was a force.
Yeah, he either struck out or hit the ball a mile.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's great.
he was great.
Oh.
So Jason, are you ready to kind of lead us through a conversation around some of Evan's logos and their origins?
Yeah. So Evan, when I first discovered your work, I was first getting into collecting hats, and I was just basically scouring the internet for any site, any league, anything that were selling 5950s, and that's when I discovered East Van Baseball, right? And just some of the logos in there were just so striking to me, like, man, who is working on these logos? And so I dug in a little more, and I saw Nice One Studios, and I discovered your Instagram, and I also discovered that you don't just do baseball logos, you do a lot of band logos and stuff like that. But let's talk a little bit about East Fan Baseball and how you got involved with it, how it got started, and how you got to become basically the designer of the league. Oh no, did we lose him?
That's the question.
Yeah,
No, I'm here.
Yeah.
You got me?
Yeah.
Well, it was really easy actually, because I started the league with some friends, and so I was the only one among the four of us who knew anything about how to do that. And I should say that this really, I was a lot worse at it when we started. Like I learned a lot from doing the East Van Baseball stuff through doing it. You know, like I learned how to do it. I never had to like design for. There's a specific way to design for New Era embroidery, you know, and you kind of have to learn that by doing it. And so I'd done lots of graphics and stuff like that for other things before, but coming in and having to take on a whole league's worth of design work taught me a lot about how to do it. So I was just in the right place at the right time with it. It was also like, way before East Van Baseball started, I had this idea to just like create an art show that was, and with accompanying merchandise, that was fake teams from around the city. And then, so like that was already sort of in my mind, but I didn't have any names or ideas or anything like that. I just thought that would be a cool project. And then once the league started, it was the perfect opportunity to actually implement that. And so I was just, I was the person in the group that had that sort of background to take it on.
Very cool. One of the things I like most about the East Fan Baseball League, besides it not taking itself too seriously, it is a bunch of just adults playing rec baseball, right? But
yeah, unless you're on the field, and then it's life or death.
Dude, it's fucking it's cutthroat, man. I can tell Evan's out for blood, man. Come on, man. Don't sell Evan short here. I can tell
I'm not. I'm not. But what I love most about the East Fan Baseball League is the stories behind the teams and how they tie directly to areas around Vancouver. For instance, you have a team called the Gastown Jailers, spelled a little differently. But can you tell us how you came up with that name and how it ties to the history of Vancouver?
Yeah, sure. Well, we have a lot to work. Like, we're fortunate in that Vancouver is an industrial port city, and there's a lot of industry and a lot of history here to sort of pull from. So the city started in 1886, or was incorporated in 1886, and since then it's gone through. It's burned down twice. It's been a port. It's been industrial. It's been a site for gold miners. In lumber, it's huge lumber here. So there's really a wealth of history to pull from, which is exactly what you want. Like look at any minor league baseball team, they're named after whatever the most famous thing that city's for, like commonly, right? And that's, we took that approach in this league. It was like, what cool history is in this city? So it was me and some friends of mine at the beginning of this, and we sort of said, okay, we're going to try to, now you have to understand, this baseball league that we are conceiving of, we wanted to do it in a different way. And we wanted to keep we wanted to make it a really cool league. We wanted to make it better than other leagues that we'd seen around. And we thought one of the ways that we could do that was to control what teams were going to be called and give them really excellent branding and make sure that there's a gold standard of uniforms. Like everyone's got majestic jerseys and New Era hats. Like we really put a lot of care to make sure that everyone felt like it was a really cool league to be a part of. So with that attitude, we knew that we should really come up with some excellent team names. So what we did is we tied them to neighborhoods around the city. So like you have boroughs in New York or whatever, like there's just all these, obviously on a way smaller scale, but neighborhoods within the city. So we said, let's take those neighborhoods and create IDs for these teams that hark back to the history of the city. And so, I mean, the names that we came up with, we have 12 teams now, and mostly by committee, a small committee for the team names. And then it would be on me to figure out what they looked like. And I got to go from everything as far as colors to logos and all that stuff. And then, I was also in, what the uniforms would look like, and I'd be like ordering them and making sure they came out looking good and everything. So really big undertaking, but so satisfying to arrive at the field on any given game day and see everyone just looking so amazing.
Sure, absolutely. See
so, okay, going back to the question that you asked a little bit, that was the background to it. So
yeah.
The jailers, I mean, that's just one of the neighborhoods. There was the original jail in Gastown in Vancouver, had this like guillotine and a jail where they used to hang people. And so we just thought it would be awesome to have every league needs a villain. So the law enforcement team, the Gastown jailers, black and gold, it was just like such a perfect thing to do. So Gastown jailers, that's one of the teams.
Evan, I want to just make sure you're aware that the gentleman that's interviewing you has had run-ins with the law all over the country. Which
one of y'all?
Jason Mead. Mead. He spent a lot of time in lockup in Lawrence.
Is that true?
Well, parts of it.
Okay, you tell me your story. I got one too.
He's really tight-lipped on this this flirtation with law enforcement in Lawrence. But let's see if we can get it out of him.
That was a long time ago, maybe a lifetime ago. But so I am a huge fan of some of these logos, and what I love about the logos that you design is they look and feel like their actual baseball team logos designed specifically for hats for the field. And I have a few here. If you want to, I'll
Sure.
show them to you, and you tell me the inspiration maybe behind them.
Yeah, run it. Let's do it.
The first one I got here is the Punk Rock Isotopes Baseball Club from 2017. And you're actually a member of both the band and the team, correct?
That's correct. Yep.
And so, I just think this is a kick-ass logo. Baseball in the middle of the isotope, bats with nails through them.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that one's the classic. That's been the band logo for like 10 years. And that shows you my affection for Pittsburgh right there, I think. And yep. Black and yellow to me is the most like ass-kicking color combination in sports. So when it came down to choosing, I took my favorite one. And then there you go. That's the new one. That's 2009 or that's 2020. That's this year's.
Right.
And so just want to make it dangerous and cool. And the Isotopes sort of is the first team being in the league. There's actually no tie to any history in Vancouver. It was just the fact that we were a band called that, and it doesn't actually have anything to do with the city because we were in existence before the baseball league.
Isn't that a green under on that cap?
Yes, sir.
Hey. Of course. Oh wow, yeah, that's classic. Jason, I know you tap danced around the question, but Evan, you're not. Like, you weren't going to tap dance. Can you tell us about your brush with the law? You said you had a story to share. I want to hear that before we move into the next logo.
Sure, I'll give you the real quick version of it. I'm banned from the United States.
What the? Hey. The whole country?
The whole country. I was tried to go down there to tour with my band in 2013, and I got busted for going down there without having a visa. So they turned me away, and it was right after it was a Homeland Security thing. So I got put in jail. I got arrested, and I was spent the night in Buffalo at wherever that is at Niagara Falls.
Wow, Buffalo, that's terrible.
Yeah, yeah, it is
Yeah.
terrible. So that's
See,
it. I mean, it's not a criminal thing. It's just that I was treated as an illegal alien trying to go down to work without permits,
Well,
which is a
Evan, Evan, can I be clear about something? If you were in jail, you did something illegal.
I'll let you have that one on air tonight. Yeah.
I'm just kidding with you, Evan. We're good. Thanks for sharing that, though, man. It's funny. So, but listen, I'll smuggle you in one day. Maybe I'll find a way.
Perfect, man. I'd love that. Right now, the United States is my number one destination.
Oh, that's why. Listen, so Evan, just to be real here, right? When you said you weren't going to Seattle to see Toronto, there's another reason for that. It wasn't really. I see what you did. That's smooth, man. That's smooth. Well, I knew we'd get it out of you.
Very cool.
Okay, moving on.
Moving on. I got a few hats from last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago. That I think are. I love how you incorporated a pinwheel design, green under, into the Mount Pleasant murder. How did that name come about? The murder.
Well, this name came about. It actually had nothing to do with me. This name.
Okay.
In one of our name brainstorming sessions, one of the other guys brought this name up. My friend Tyler brought that name up, and he suggested it, which was immediately a winner, because the reason behind the name is that Mount Pleasant is one of the neighborhoods we are targeting, one of the most popular neighborhoods in East Van. And what you see if you come to East Van and go to Mount Pleasant is, in the fall, is like thousands of crows flying through the sky like every single afternoon, and they're ruthless. Like they'll attack people, and there's just you probably haven't seen this many crows in one place. So it's just like sort of it's a trademark of the city and that neighborhood. And we just thought, like, that is an amazing name for a team. And obviously, it's such a badass team name that it deserved a really badass logo. And black and red to me is like a really cool, it makes sense. It's a crow. It's got to be black, Yeah. It's murder black. It's just like, it made sense.
Yeah. Listen, I like how it connects to stuff in the neighborhoods and stuff. That's freaking cool, man. I think a group of crows might be called a murder.
It is.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
That's why it was, when we heard that name, was just like, oh, that is too good.
Yeah, that's badass, man.
And then I just want to go over one more, and I think this was quite possibly Leon's and Pierre's favorite logo from the league, and that's the Chinatown Cobras.
Yeah.
I mean, a snake on a hat. I mean, how can you go wrong? But just explain where the inspiration for this one came from.
Okay, so Chinatown's, obviously every city's got a Chinatown mostly, and we have one, and it's right adjacent to where our home field when we started was. So obviously Chinatown's and that's like it's a big art neighborhood, and another excellent neighborhood to target. And my idea was to just tie it into something off the Chinese zodiac, take it, so a snake. And I said, okay, let's just make it historical in that way. So it doesn't actually have much history as far as this city is concerned. I just wanted it to be historical and have some sort of tie into Chinatown. And I wanted them to. It was a year that when those guys came into the league, Majestic put out neon green jerseys for like the first year. So I said, this team has to be neon, because it was basically the everyone who wanted to be on the Isotopes that there was no room for. We made a second party team, called them the Cobras, and they got the wildest uniforms in the league.
Shit, you're speaking Mead's language.
Yeah, I love the colors. Like this one, we actually had a question come up in the comments. You released this one earlier this year. It's a Little Mountain Blasters, as expansion team, but last year, right?
Yep.
And sold out very quick. And you did a pre-order for it, and from our little pre-show, you said that pre-order did very well. Marin's wondering if you plan on doing more pre-orders for some of your hats, or what's the plans there?
I imagine more pre-orders will happen, but we are also I can say that hat will come back whether or not there's a pre-order. It's one of the ones that I think I want to keep around, just like always.
Right.
So it will be back for those who haven't got it. People who want it, it's coming. So yeah.
So Jason, you've been what drew you to all this stuff? Because I mean, you're religiously buying these hats, right? It's the logos and the stories behind it.
It's just they're on-field hats that aren't, major or minor league recognized teams. I like that they're a little known, hopefully not for too much longer. And I just love the designs, the colors, they're very aesthetically pleasing hats.
I love guys like you, Evan, that create but have this great storyline behind it and like just connect to the community that you're serving. This is outstanding stuff, man. Like,
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, what's that one? What is that one?
This is Railtown Spikers.
Yeah, so that one ties right in. Vancouver, like I said, it was it's a major industrial city at its time of incorporation, and so it was the end. It was there was a finish line for the Canadian National Railway or whatever it was called at the time. And so they had all these guys that were, well, in my understanding of it, possibly interned rail workers, slaves, possibly slaves, from Japan during World War II or I or whatever. I'm not super clear on that history, but you can look it up. Anyway, the Spikers, there's this whole neighborhood called Japantown, which is also known as, historically known as Japantown, but now it's known as Railtown. And that was where the final destination on the railway across Canada was located. And so those guys, like, they built the railway, and it's just a part of how that thing was built, this like incredible workforce of people who, I don't know if they had a choice or not, but they did it. And I think it should be recognized that that railway wouldn't have been a part of our city had, that not happened. There's TV shows and stuff about this, and we actually just did. Anyway, point is, it's based after the rail workers who laid the actual ties and hammered that stuff down. And it's a major part of our city's heritage that a lot of people don't know about. So I thought it would be a really good time to like highlight it and make that a team and sort of just pay homage to, why we all got here in the first place, right? Like no one was walking this far, not very many people anyway.
Sure.
You know what I envision? Listen, I'm not a part of all this, right? I'm not in the middle of it. But what I'm envisioning is you've created probably such a high level of engagement, not only for the players in that league, but the folks that are kind of in those people's families and like just local folks that just soak all this in. And these logos and hats probably have a lot to do with that. Because listen, if you have people that want to purchase these hats, it makes people connect to it even further than they normally would if you threw some mesh hat with just a couple letters on it. I mean, you're really taking this to the next level by adding this level of engagement through these logos and the stories behind it. It's pretty impressive.
Thank you. I think it was really important to us to give people something meaningful to buy into.
Yeah.
We were asking a lot of them to come out, and we were starting an organization that no one had heard of. We were asking people to trust us, saying, we're going to throw some baseball games and we need you to let us regulate how they go. And the whole psychology behind it was that it's the Sandlot Baseball League where everyone can participate, and there's no tryouts and there's no bullshit. And it's just come out and play if you want to play baseball. But what we really needed was a strong governing body to make that happen, make the infrastructure exist. And what we asked the players to do is put a lot of their trust in us and say, like, we're going to tell you who's on your team. We have a lot of people here who want to play ball, and we're going to try to make these teams very even. And we did that. And what I felt and we all felt was that we have to give these players more than the average league will give them. So we have to give them a real identity to buy into. We have to give them a real reason to care about their team. And we just knew tying it to reality would be the best way to do it. That's something that we're all passionate about. Everyone in our group was passionate about the history of the city, passionate about baseball. And
Yeah.
it just was like, it was a no-brainer. It was just a natural way to really express ourselves. And it definitely has resonated with the players. There's people with tattoos now, right?
Oh,
Crazy.
that's insane. So I know Jason has one more question before we kind of wrap it up, Evan, but
Yeah, you're growing a little bit of a following here on our YouTube video. And in fact, we got a few people that are saying they might be willing to move to Vancouver in order to just play in this league. But they're wondering about the commitment, especially when having majestic uniforms and new O'Hara hats. And do you ever get any pushback from some of the players like, whoa, this is getting a bit expensive to play in this league or anything like that?
Well, our league fees are really cheap. We charge $300 Canadian per season, and you get 16 games, and that's all in. So that's $6 a game, or $6 an hour, or something like that. So it's definitely affordable. Plus, you get to be a part of this thing, and it's real baseball. It's wood bats, it's steel spikes. You can steal. There's no weird rules. It's just like, come on out and play. And the oldest guy in the league is like 56, and the youngest guy is 18. So it's just like, everyone's got their own levels of what they're comfortable with, but we try to put it right in that sweet spot where it's not going to be preventative for anyone to join the league. And the whole idea is just to be able to pay for what we have to pay for, and make it good, pay for a little extra stuff too. Like, not every league's getting that stuff. So, plus, it's just, you don't have to play if you don't want to. We got a waiting list too, right?
yeah. I don't think you're worried about that, right?
Right.
But
right.
Listen, Evan, I want to thank you for coming on. My key takeaways from this, where you really were a co-founder of this league, you then kind of evolved to a place where you got to leave the league in a great place, and you evolved to a place where you're working on the graphics and really the branding behind the league and making it fun and engaging for everyone that's involved in it. And now you've got so many people, you're going to end up having a pretty big cult following now, based on these logos and like what you're throwing out there. So I'm excited to see where this goes, me personally.
I'm really thankful to have found this group of people and to be appealing to them, because sometimes you think you might just be the only guy who gives a shit about this kind of stuff, right? So it's cool to be here, and it's very cool to be on the show, and thank you guys a lot for having me and for the support.
Yeah, and Evan, like I told you before, there's going to be several of your pieces that end up in my vault, and I'm sure Leon's as well.
I've already told them, save me some eights.
Yeah. So we can't wait. We can't wait to help support you even further. So,
awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Evan, thanks again for being on. Jason, thanks for sharing your enthusiasm for Evan's products and what he does. And Leon, thank you for being the most outstanding co-host a man could ask for. Let's wrap it up. And Leon, you want to take us out?
Yeah. So stay tuned live on Instagram. Jason Mead and Pierre are going to go through Jason Mead's top 9 of the week. Wednesday, we're going to be back with views. I think we're up to views 11. And then on 4th of July, we have a very special episode planned. For Saturday, we're going to be interviewing the personal photographer for Dionic Danny's brand. So that would be pretty cool. Tarek's going to be on the show.
It's going to be some virtual goddamn fireworks in this place.
Yeah, let's go. So other than that, thanks for joining. Make sure you guys subscribe, share, comment, rate, review, all that good stuff. Stay fitted. We will catch you guys on Wednesday.
Very cool.